Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson. I'm joined here, as always, by the man who's still not ready to sell all of his Geno Smith stock. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing good. Definitely not ready to sell, but not the best game.
Yeah, stock took a hit on Monday night. Kyle, we have a ton to get into this week. We have 16 games to preview. We have 2 games to recap. A lot going on.
A lot going on indeed, and not looking forward to 90 minutes, but we're going to get through it. We're going to do our best.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just jump into this. Let's start off with the Bucs Texans. Let's go in chronological order. A game that was at one point, it felt like the Buccaneers were clearly going to win. The Texans offense was really stuck in the mud all game after the opening drive touchdown. They had a field goal on the next drive and then was really struggling to get anything going. But then just weird stuff started happening. Baker Mayfield dropped the ball on a play that looked like he was going to get a first down. The Tampa Bay recovered, but they had to punt. The punt got blocked. And then C.J. Stroud throws right to Levante David, who drops the football. Tampa Bay gets stopped again after they give the Texans kick a field goal. And then there's a long punt return. Ultimately, the Texans are able to score a touchdown and take the lead. There's some debate as to whether or not the Buccaneers let them score that touchdown. The Buccaneers have been kind of cagey about if they did or didn't in the press here. And then ultimately, Baker Mayfield, for the second week in a row, has a touchdown-winning drive at the end of the game. The Buccaneers would be 0-2 if football was a 58-minute game, but instead here they are at 2-0.
Yeah, and the Texans could be 2-0 in a lot of different scenarios this season, too. I mean, this game really, it felt like Tampa left some points on the board in the first 3 quarters for sure, and it could have done a little bit better. And then after that missed field goal to end the third quarter, things just flipped. The Texans go down on that drive, and I mean, again, Texans feel like they could have left some points on the board because they get down to the 1-yard line and don't score because they throw 2 passes out of bounds. Then, like you said, Tampa gets out of that, partially due to penalties, blocked punt, and then it's just all of a sudden mayhem breaks loose in this game towards the end, and it ends with another Tampa, not full walk-off touchdown, but they've had 2 game-winning touchdowns in the final seconds to start this season. And I think the story of this game at the end was Baker Mayfield. I mean, you could talk a lot about both of these teams. Both of these teams at times look really good and also have some warts that I think they need to figure out. But, I mean, this guy, I don't think a neutral observer could love another quarterback more. This is just, he is like everything you want from a neutral quarterback. He is exciting. He makes some great throws. He makes some great runs. I mean, the Texans had him dead to rights on that 4th and 10. That was an awful 2-minute drill. And all of a sudden you have that 4th and 10 and he looks tackled in the backfield and breaks the tackle and runs off. And it's just, that was amazing. I was ready to run through my TV for him and pat him on the back. I mean, it was just a fantastic play. And then he comes up with a couple more big plays down the stretch. I mean, this Baker resurgence, I mean, we've talked about it a lot because this is year 3 now of Baker in Tampa, and he's been good the first 2, but he feels like he's cemented himself as like a top 8 quarterback in football, which seemed unfathomable at one point, even if he was better than his early stage of his career.
Yeah, I think there's some revisionist history of Baker Mayfield with the Browns and people saying what were the Browns thinking getting rid of him? He got traded for a 5th round pick. It's not like there were a bunch of teams trying to get him. It's kind of the consensus at the time. Any team in the league could have spent the 4th round pick and gotten him when he left Cleveland. He's the best. Baker Mayfield is the only reason he's not a slam dunk, the most fun quarterback I've ever seen watch is because I saw Tom Brady play for my team. And even then, it's from an entertainment value, you could debate each one. All of it. I mean, him telling Will Anderson that, you're celebrating for nothing. I got the first down. Him getting into it with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that play where I literally said, "Oh no, Baker's hurt," only for him to then just get right back up and start talking trash to, I believe, it's C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And you're right. The 2-minute drills. You could make the argument he's in the top tier of quarterbacks you want in a 2-minute drill at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked really good in both of them. And I mean, this Tampa team at times has looked really good this season. And like, I think if you just looked at the raw numbers, I mean, 5.7 yards per pass, he won a little bit better, but it's not bad. And, you know, there was some drops mixed in there too. They also ran for 5.6 yards per run. I mean, there's a lot of plays in this game. I think there's a lot of things you can look at this Tampa team and say, like, numbers wise, we look really good. We're one of the best run defenses in the league. We have all this going for us. We should be doing a lot better. And you are 2-0. It's just these games have felt weird at the same time where, you know, it's like they're snatching victory from the jaws of defeat both times, even though I think they're the better team in both of these matchups.
Yeah, they're very weird. Where it felt like they blew both games and then still found a way to win. Like I felt like they were they should have had the game stolen from them and then stole it back both times. I mean, I think ultimately both starting tackles out, multiple receivers out. Even Emeka Egbuka had to sit out for a minute in this game. You know, I think you feel like the ceiling of this team is very high. We could talk about the Texans, but ultimately, should we just kind of maybe hold off until we get to the Texans preview this week?
Yeah, we could talk about it later. I mean, I think my only thing is I'm not worried. Like, I think this team is what it is. I think they're still going to be in the division mix. I'm not worried about an 0-2 start against two playoff teams.
I'm a little worried. I guess a little bit worried. They didn't. Can you pick up a blitz here? Can you? Some of them was tough. That Levante David one, that was a tough one. But like some of these you can pick up.
Yeah, but they weren't good at that the last 2 years either.
Yeah. Turns out maybe Bobby Stolik wasn't the problem.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the other Monday night game. A real dud for the 10 o'clock Monday night attempt here, having to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch this game, where the Raiders, they felt like they were kind of getting back in it at certain points. Like, despite the constant Geno Smith interceptions, they still kept finding a way. And then Geno Smith throws another interception. You know, he had opportunity to at least make it a one-score game with a field goal, throws his third pick. This was weirdly, they got stopped on fourth down. Then they got the ball back by a miracle, like right after it, and had another chance, but still just couldn't get anything going. Chargers look really good. Geno Smith, he's always going to put the ball in harm's way. He's going to have a game like this or two a season. I'm not overly concerned about that, but I think the Chargers look like they're the real deal. And Kyle, one thing I tweeted this out, like, it's just crazy how it seems like the Chargers just fix these corners, right? Like, it seems like every time a corner comes to play, and like Dante Jackson is currently PFF's fourth highest rated corner through 2 games. He's the guy who, like, great athlete, can't put it together, goes to the Chargers, now he's put it together. Like, it's, and you think about it, I mean, the defensive coordinator for Jim Harbaugh used to be in the Ravens defensive back scheme. Ravens obviously known for that. Maybe it's not just a John Harbaugh thing when it comes to knowing corners. Maybe Jim Harbaugh knows what he's doing as well.
Jim Harbaugh's just a really good coach, man. Like, he has proven it over and over again. He did it at the collegiate level, he did it at the NFL level, and now he's doing it here with Los Angeles. This team looks really good. They are spreading the ball around. And yeah, I think that they took their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, but that second half was also just weird. Like, it opened with a 7-minute drive that resulted in a Chargers field goal to go up 20-6. And then it was responded by an 11-minute Raiders drive that resulted in a field goal to make it 20-9. Yeah. And then by that point, like, everybody was asleep. I was asleep. I didn't stay up for it. Like, it was just like when you're going to take that much time in the game, it's just like, all right, well, I guess that's that. And then, yeah, I mean, they didn't convert that 4th and 1 at the 50 because the fumbled snap results in, the Raiders do get a chance there at the end of the game. Geno Smith did make some throws, but this team is just, outside of a couple mistakes there in the second half of that game late, this team is well coached. This team executes, and I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders. This defense looks fantastic. It looked fantastic week 1, too, outside of Mahomes playing out of his mind at times. And then, I mean, the Justin Herbert part of it, like, Justin Herbert, we've known the talents there. We've known how good of a quarterback he is. He is playing like a tier 1 quarterback right now, and that's going to change a lot of things because they are spreading the ball out. They're throwing more. They are being more aggressive. And if Herbert's going to make all of these throws, then, I mean, this team can win the AFC, which is not something we would probably have projected a preseason.
Yeah. He was fantastic. Did have a dropped pick late it was a hilarious play where the offensive line blocked for like 8 seconds and then he threw it right to a defender. But other than that, you're right. He's locked in right now. He was also the leading rusher in this game. And Kyle, you know who else is looking like an elite level player? Quentin Johnston. One of my wide receiver takes finally hit. Just years late. Not wrong, just early. Kadarius Toney. Maybe someone should sign him.
Yeah. I mean, this is now a fun receiving core, which we didn't really expect. I mean, we thought it would be like, we liked Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen did not look good last season. I know there's a lot of jokes about he just left the Bears. And then Quentin Johnson, he had a couple big games to start the season and then went back to like dropping every pass that went his way. And all of a sudden, they're all three of these guys look really good. And I mean, if they're going to play like this, that's a really formidable group because McConkey is really good in that slot spot, and Allen is a versatile player. And then you have this big player on the outside who's just making these catches and making some dangerous plays. He had a 60-yard play in this game. Like, if he's going to be a big play threat for this team with those two guys doing the stuff over the middle, and all of a sudden this Chargers team can really spread some defenses out.
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking about Trey Harris when they drafted him. He's the rookie. I'm like, I don't know if he can be a number 2 receiver for them right away. He's playing number 4 receiver now. So this is fantastic stuff. Only knock. Still want to see Omarion Hampton get going.
Yeah, I mean, the running game is still a work in progress, which is kind of the surprising thing about this because this was a team that was very run first and run oriented, and we kind of expected them to kind of stick with that and just play the play action game because we didn't expect this out of this receiving core too. And then all of a sudden it seems like it's flipped. They are very, I know the total numbers ended up about 50-50 here, but there was some Justin Herbert scrambles mixed in there. And this team looks like it's running through the path, playing through the pass. And, the offense does look good, but you do want a little bit more balance there. And I think you could say that about both these teams through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have more time to talk about both of them, but let's get into the preview aspect of this show. Kyle, you are still in the lead. It came down to, we actually entered Monday Night Football tied, but you hit your lock. You locked the Buccaneers, a game that could have gone either way. So ultimately, once again, I will be picking first here, something I'm getting used to on this show. But I'm going to give you Cardinals, 49ers, the favored Mac Jones-led 49ers. 2 undefeated teams playing each other. Who do you have winning this one?
You're going to make me do it right off the bat? Come on. I guess so.
Okay,
I'm locking up the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
Let's go. Look, Mac Jones looked really good in week 1. Let's see it again. I'll wait and see if this happens again. And there's still a lot of pieces missing from the San Francisco team. You're not going to have Ayuk. You're not going to have Kittle. So it's still Christian McCaffrey, Pearsall, and Jennings. Jennings was really good last week. Big part of that offense and really helped. But I just think right now with those pieces depleted, this is a good 49ers defense. But I think that's a matchup disadvantage still. So I think the Cardinals are more talented on both sides of the ball, and I think they managed to get this win.
Our first comment when we brought up this game was next game, please. So, okay, someone's not thrilled for the for talking Mac Jones. Although, as someone else brings up, there is a small chance Brock Purdy plays, which could this last week I locked up Mac Jones and it worked out. This week potentially you could lock up against Mac Jones and have it go to the other way.
It's okay. Listen, all I need is the Cardinals to win here. Let's get our 3-0 start. We're rolling right now. It's not perfect, but there are still flashes of a really good team here. So I'm feeling perfectly fine with my team, no matter who they play.
Yeah, I mean, again, in both games, they weren't able to make the couple plays at the end to make this easy victories. They did still get both victories. Like the story after last week should have been how great the Cardinals were if they didn't just completely blow that final 5 minutes. I guess not completely, but come close to it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like. I guess my question is, they just feel a little off right now, right? Like they I don't know exactly how to put my finger on it other than it just feels like it's not going quite as smoothly as you like.
I don't think it's been perfect at all. Yeah, I mean, I think that they still need to lock in on a few things. Like you said, the second half of these games have been a bit of a drag. But I think the funny thing is like we're talking about this Cardinals team with that sort of expectations. Is it fair to say both of these teams are kind of in a similar boat for the first 2 weeks? Like San Francisco did play a good Seattle defense, and they managed to get that win, but like it could have easily been a loss, and honestly, it probably should have been a loss if Seattle catches some interceptions. And in their second game, like, yeah, they got the win. Mac Jones played well. He came up the hero in that week, but that defense got gashed too by Alvin Kamara and Spencer Rattler, which is not something we really expected from that defense in week 2. I don't want to say gash, but Spencer Rattler ended up having a pretty decent day in that game. So I think both of these teams are still trying to figure themselves out. You could have argued both of these teams could have lost their first 2 weeks because they messed around a little bit towards the end. But I do think both of these teams have some talent. I just think it's a Cardinals team with a little bit more talent on both sides. And I really do think that they should be able to get after the quarterback for whatever quarterback plays for San Francisco. I think they're going to be able to get after him and cause some problems, which if it's Mac Jones, I think is a bigger problem because he's not as elusive in ability to play on the run as Brock Purdy is.
Hey, you clearly missed the Pro Bowl. That's a great run in that one.
Yeah. That was a few years ago. You're right.
Yeah, no, this is the correct pick. I also think I will say I think that the Cardinals are going to win, but two kind of up and down teams right now. So why I didn't want to pick the game, but of course I know how you feel about America's team, the Cardinals. So I understand the lock.
Yeah, we're rolling to 17-0. We're fine. You can't give all of your stuff away in weeks 1 and 2. So we're gonna reveal a little bit more this week and play a little bit better.
Yeah. Also, I realized the person said next game that was talk about the Raiders, not about the Cardinals 49ers, which makes more sense. Also, someone said no Falcons defense talk. Not during when we talk about the Falcons, we'll do it. Not now.
Cardinals Niners. So how about that Falcons defense?
Yeah, we'll get there. Kyle, let's move on. Give me a game.
Yeah, I don't want to pick my team. Steelers at Patriots.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to pick your team either. And so I'm not going to. I'm going to pick the Steelers to win. I don't know exactly what to make of either of these teams. This is another one close up on my list, but ultimately, I don't know. This almost feels like a loser leaves town game, even though it shouldn't be. It just feels like to have a chance this season, you got to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's two teams that are playing for the same position in the standings, right? Like these two teams in theory are going to be battling for playoff spots. And
okay. I'm back.
Oh, there you are. I didn't even realize you were gone. So.
Okay. Gotcha. Yes. Sorry. My thing froze for a second. Okay. Sorry.
You're all good. All right. So yeah, I think I think the big thing is that I don't know. Like both of these teams in theory are going to be playing for the same playoff spots. They're looking at 6 and 7 and saying maybe we can get that spot, which is possible. We'll see. Still a lot of football to be played. They look off the playoff spots, I'd say both of them right now, but I think both of them could correct themselves. I am about ready to throw that week 1 game for the Steelers and Jets into the trash. I have no idea what to do with all that data. Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden coming back like 2010 Aaron Rodgers was not expected, all that kind of stuff. I think the Patriots, from a certain standpoint, have some matchup advantages in this game because I don't really trust the Steelers' defense right now. The secondary looks so beatable outside of Jalen Ramsey. And, I think it's one of those things with the Patriots where they spread the ball around because there's not really an elite guy, but there's a few pretty good ones. It's not like it's still a tier 4 receiving room, probably tier 5 fringe. But at the same time, you have Pop Douglas, you have Kayshon Boutte, who's had 2 touchdowns the first 2 games. You have Stephon Diggs, who's still doing things. Hunter Henry finds ways to get open. Austin Hooper had a few big catches last week. Both of those running backs have shown they can catch the ball out of the backfield. They can move the ball around in different ways and attack this secondary without having to worry about Jalen Ramsey and what he's doing in this game. And I think that's a big factor. And I think the other factor I'm looking at too is the Patriots defensive line has looked very good, I think, the first 2 weeks of the season. And that's what I'm probably most excited about for the defense. The linebackers need some work. We are getting Christian Gonzalez back, which I also think is a huge part of this game, too, in theory. He may be back. But the defensive line does look really good. I think they're going to be able to limit the Steelers against the run, and they lead the NFL in sacks right now with Harold Landry, Chase on, Keon White, Christian Barmore, all these guys chipping in and making Milton Williams, all of these guys chipping in and making some big plays to start the year. So I think the defensive line of the Patriots could help win this game defensively, and then they just have to be able to show that they could still attack this secondary that struggled.
Kyle, I think like a minute into when you were talking, I decided I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to flip it to the Patriots. Actually, I think for a lot of what you just said, you're I think you're correct about. I mean, the one thing I'm like the Broderick Jones and Troy Fontenot tackle tandem for the Steelers hasn't been great. You're right. The Patriots have played really well there, and as you brought up, Christian Gonzalez maybe will play this week. That they don't need him, but that would certainly help. I just feel like that could be an issue for Aaron Rodgers, who still is not moving around great. He still has the arm talent, but one of the issues, I watch him play, he's still playing like he's 27 out there. Like he's still trying to get outside the pocket when a play breaks down. Like he needs to, I think he's going to have to learn very quickly, get rid of the football in some of these plays.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I do think the Patriots secondary needs to play a lot better, and having Gonzalez alone is going to help a lot of that. The linebackers in coverage aren't helping either. Spillane and Christian Ellis are really struggling. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that there are matchup advantages here for the Patriots that I think I like a little bit more than the Steelers. Although I do think I keep watching this Steelers team play and think like, well, there's a chance the secondary just starts playing better because there are still some pretty talented players on this team. Beyond Jalen Ramsey, like you still have Darius Slay, you have Deshaun Elliott, you have Juan Thornhill. Like those guys aren't terrible. You have Jabril Peppers in that secondary mix too. Like there should be guys that make plays in this team. So what if they just start playing better? But I think you need to see it first before you can believe it.
Yeah. Kyle, let's do a guess the PFF coverage grade for Robert Spillane and Christian Ellis.
Last? How many linebackers are there? 80?
No.
Are they 80th and 79th?
Well, I don't know the numbers in terms of like where they rank, but what for coverage itself, where do you think they're at?
Oh, like 20 and 19.
Okay, you undershot it. 28.8 and 28.1 for those two. Not exactly a dynamic duo.
It's been rough.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, for all of Miami's issues, which there are a lot right now, like Devin Achane is a problem. Like they're not seeing Devin Achane this week in that sort of matchup. So that at least helps. But, you still got to deal with guys like Calvin Austin coming over the middle, doing different things. So they definitely have to step up and play better. Yeah.
I do think I think the Patriots offensive line has held up fine to start the year. I do think putting, going up against the Steelers, who haven't quite been as good as what you would like, but maybe there's an advantage there. But yeah, think Patriots feel like the right pick now that I think about it more. Let's move on, Kyle. I'm going to give you a game that is another, I don't know exactly what to make of either of these teams. Cowboys at Bears. Where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, it's another weird one. I was kind of on the fence for both sides of this, but I think I have to go Cowboys right now. It's another one of those ones where I think the Bears, in theory, if the Bears start playing better defense again, which is a defense we expected to be good, then maybe this flips more than we think, and all of a sudden this is a more competitive game. Because I don't trust that. I don't think there's any fixing that Dallas defense. It is what it is, but there's still no Jalen Johnson for the Bears, and I think that's a problem. So if there's going to be one thing I trust in this game, it's the Cowboys offense, which can move the ball and can make things happen. And, the Cowboys, I don't think the Bears are as bad as they played last week, but at the same time, the Cowboys could very easily be 2-0 under different circumstances and have played a good football team in week 1 too. So I got to go with the Cowboys, and I got to say this offense is going to carry them through some of these games, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's the fair take. It's like, I trust Dak Prescott more right now. They have more talent. I do think this could be a fun game. Again, the Cowboys just feel like they're going to play in a lot of fun games this year, which is something I've never said in my life before, given how they usually play in most milquetoast games ever. There's such a lack of corners for the Bears right now. I mean, really for both teams, because the Cowboys have injuries as well. I mean, that's just not going to go well. They're not rushing the passer on top of it. Montez Sweat. But other than that, they're not getting much of anything under defensive line. It's a real issue. I do wonder, though, it's interesting that, the Bears are 1.5 point favorites, which means that Vegas essentially views this as a pick'em game, but since it's in Chicago, slight edge to the Bears. I do wonder, could this be the emergence of Ben Johnson with the Bears? Could we see a lot of points? And I think for the Bears, if they lose this game 31-28, I think they feel okay about that.
Yeah, you just want to see your offense be productive and move the ball. So
Which it kind of was last week. They gave up 50, so like that was underrated. And Caleb Williams threw a horrible pick. But other than that, like that's a lot of that's quite a way to start a sentence when you say other than that when it's give up 50 points and throwing a horrible pick. But like if you do look past that, there was good things offensively.
Yeah, there was, and yeah, I mean, there is a chance this defense does work itself out. They still got a lot to figure out there, but at the same time, you're still looking at this offense. You're looking at Ben Johnson, what he did in Detroit, and you're looking at Caleb Williams and where he was drafted, and say you just want to see progress. And can you compete with a team like this that can put up points? So yeah, I think that this could be a game. This is a game where they definitely have the matchup advantage too. So there's really no excuse. There's no excuse in this game, I think, because we've seen this Cowboys defense. They just gave up 450 yards or whatever to Russell Wilson. And we've seen this defensive line really struggle. This Bears team has good players on the offensive line. They have good players at receiver, and they have a quarterback that was drafted highly. They have to move the ball in this game. Yes, I still think they're going to lose because I think Cowboys should also move the ball, and that offense just looks flat out better. Mm-hmm. But there's no excuse for Chicago not to at least get some points on the board and get some yards downfield.
Yeah, which is the goal here. So it should be interesting. But let's move on. Again, moving a little quicker, just with all the stuff we have to get to this week. Kyle, time for you to give me a game.
Let's go divisional game here. Let's go Broncos at Chargers.
Okay. Yeah, I'll lock up the Chargers here. I'm buying into this Chargers team. It's not disrespect to the Broncos. I think if this line was 3.5, I probably don't lock it up. But you get the, Chargers only have to win by a field goal. I feel comfortable with what they've done. They beat the Chiefs. They, just handedly beat the Raiders. Also, what a weird start. Now that I'm thinking about it, playing 3 straight divisional games against your entire division right off the jump for the Chargers. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a start to the year it could be if they can pull this one off and get 3-0 in the division right off the jump. Again, everything we talked about, the Chargers are just firing on all cylinders. Their offense was great. We saw what the Colts offense could do to the Broncos defense with a lot of schemed up stuff. I assume we'll see similar things this week with the Chargers. I think that the Chargers defense is playing really good football. Bo Nix has looked a little shaky to start the year. Again, I like both these teams. I just feel like the Broncos are kind of diet Chargers right now is how I see it. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I think the one thing I do want to see is like you said, Indianapolis was able to catch the Broncos with some scheme stuff and caught them, I think, frankly, by surprise. So like, does Denver now counter those things? I think that is definitely on the cards. It could happen because I just don't think the defense played its best game. And I think that defense is better than what it is, but also credit to the Colts offense because it has looked good. So I think Denver's defense could counter it. And then, I mean, it really just comes down to, I think, a lot too, where, if we got the Bo Nix we got last week, I think the Broncos do have a chance. If we got the Bo Nix we got in week 1, the Broncos definitely don't have a chance because we've seen this Chargers team be able to take advantage of turnovers and make some big plays. And this Chargers secondary is going to be problematic if you're making risky throws. So if Bo Nix can be smart with the football like he was last week and play well, then absolutely, I think Denver can compete in this game. But right now, I definitely trust Justin Herbert more. And I think Justin Herbert's going to make the difference in this game.
Yeah. And I also think one interesting factor is, these are 2 good offensive lines, but the way people talk about the Chargers offensive line is really how we should talk about the Broncos offensive line. It is among the best in football. And with Khalil Mack injured, Bud Dupree still has 68 snaps in 2 games for this team. Like Bud Dupree he's hanging around. Like that's concerning that you might have to give him more playing time here. I don't, Tahir Tart is just on a tear. That's a tongue twister. But, with the first slapping Travis Kelce and then in this second game, shoving Geno Smith. So, that's going on. I think they can get a push from the inside, but the outside, Bo Nix could have time to throw here. But again, this Charger secondary has been good enough that I'm not as worried about it. But that is the one way that if the Broncos win, that's going to be a storyline probably.
Yeah, I do think there is a chance this offensive line could win them the game and help them on the outside. And, they've gotten stuff out of Troy Franklin this season. He has looked pretty good in a year 2 leap. But it's still lasting a lot from, just based off what we've seen from this Chargers team. You can't look at the past performance of a lot of these guys right now. This Chargers secondary looks very, very good. And, I think Derwin James has helped raising the level of all these guys around him, because he just flies around and makes plays. And these corners are it's making it easier on the corners, I think, too. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun game. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth, X's and O stuff. These are two very good head coaches, two very smart head coaches. So I think that the chess game between these two is going to be really interesting.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Chargers did sweep the Broncos last year, won both games by 7 points. But, new year, we'll see what happens. Let's move on, Kyle. I'm going to give you a game now. I'll go to a different divisional matchup, kind of a big game here. Texans taking on the Jaguars. Also has a bit of a loser leaves town. There needs to be like what's a half loser leaves town? Like both teams are okay if they lose, but like you're concerned.
Definitely a little concerned. The vibes from Jacksonville last week were not fantastic in that losing effort, which came down to the wire. They almost won it and went to 2-0, which would have been huge, I think, too. I thought about locking this game, and honestly, I still feel like I should have maybe. I think I'm going to take the Texans just to win, though. I think that they are still really talented. Like, I know that the offensive line still has its issues. I'm not hitting the panic button on CJ Stroud like some people are, because they saw him on national TV for the first time in a little bit. I think that this is still a decent team. I think they're still going to be around the 9-10 win mark. And I think that when we've seen this Jacksonville team, that they've looked okay this year. I think they've got some stuff going for them, but they haven't seen a defense like this. And I think this defense is going to cause some problems that they haven't seen yet on the offensive side of the ball, which hasn't even looked perfect to begin with, despite a little bit of a softer schedule offensively. You're going up against Will Anderson Jr., you're going up against Daniil Hunter, you're going up against Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley. This is just a this is a much higher ceiling defense than what they've seen this season. And I want to see how the Jaguars respond, but I think that wins it for the Texans.
Yeah. One thing that I think is really in Houston's favor in this game is you have, we talk about the offensive line. And the offensive line's not great, but it looks way worse because they're not picking up blitzes. Jaguars currently are blitzing the least in football through 2 weeks, just 13.9%, which again, it's 2 weeks and maybe they'll change up their strategy because of that. But that's a very, again, the next 32nd is the Packers with 17.3%. So that's a pretty sizable jump there. That's kind of maybe the hope for Houston is, could you just get more time here? Not saying you're going to get a ton, because they do have good pass rushers. That's the issue. But at least you stand a chance. Whereas if you're blitzing, it seems like they can't pick up anything.
Yeah. The tough thing, who did the Jaguars bring in those situations as far as the blitz go? Devin Lloyd and Olakun are pretty good linebackers, but they're not really pass rushing linebackers. So it's an interesting dynamic, I think, for sure, for how they want to manage this game. But yeah, I think that they probably could tend to be a little bit more aggressive at times. I think that lack of aggressiveness killed them in that game last week, because, Jake Browning had some nice plays in that game, but, he was kind of looking to get rid of the football and, wasn't always the most safe with it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the defense responds, because, this defense, I still think, is more talented than the way it's performed for the last year plus now. So I just want to see it play a little bit better, but I just haven't seen it enough.
Yeah, it's I get it. I would push back a little bit on Devin Lloyd not being a good pass rusher. I think he can. He used to play edge back in college, right? So I think he can do that all right. But he's probably the one guy you'd look at. I want to talk a little Travis Hunter. So I made a film study on him. He played 2/3 of the snaps on both offense and defense last week. There was never separation, whether he was an offense or a defense, no separation. He's not getting separation, but he's also not giving up much separation. I just feel like I'd rather see him on almost every snap on defense and then 1/3 of the snaps on offense right now. I feel like if you're going to play him that much snaps, I would like to shift more to defense. They're figuring it out. He's a weird player. It's going to take some time. But I do think at least he looks good at the corner position, because he's not doing a lot at the receiver position right now.
Yeah, he was a big contested catch guy in college, honestly, and even during his high school times, he was a further along corner than he was a receiver. He was just athletic enough to be really good at receiver too. So
Mhm.
it is probably going to be trend towards him being a more full-time corner and then let part-time receiver. But you do still want to sprinkle him in there throughout just because he is such a playmaker. But he would make a huge difference to this defense because him and Campbell is a really good corner duo when they're out there.
Yeah. One other thing I have for this game, as much as we're talking about the sky is falling for Stroud, I agree with you. I think that people are overreacting. Even though I don't think he had his best day on Monday Night Football. Protect him. I trust him to protect the football better. I know he had that horrible throw that should have been intercepted last week, but Lawrence is putting the ball in harm's way a lot more, and I think that could be a difference here.
Yeah. Look, I think the thing with Stroud is like people watch that game and all of a sudden said he stinks again. I just think look, what if he surprised everyone year one and then it kind of was, didn't really make a big leap. What if he's just settling into like an all right player who shows up for some big games? Like that's just kind of, that's still a valuable asset as a quarterback. And we've seen quarterbacks who are kind of at that level get hot and win Super Bowls. If you look at the Joe Flacco, Matt Stafford role. And I think he's capable of doing things like that. I think he is capable of playing at a higher level when the moment's there. And he's shown that he can in playoff games. He has had good playoff games on his resume, good big games on his resume. So I'm not going to panic because of one game or anything like that. I think he's just an all right quarterback, and he's continuing to perform all right.
Yeah. Let's move on, Kyle. Give me a game.
All right, let's go with probably the rematch of the most exciting playoff game last year, I think. Rams at Eagles.
Yep. I mean, at the very least, the game that was closest, to beating the Eagles. I think I'd probably go Chiefs Bills number one, but we're splitting hairs. This was a great ending. The Rams almost beat the Eagles. They were the team closest to beating the Eagles. I think they could come close to beating the Eagles. I still will pick the Eagles to win, though. Again, they're the reigning champs for a reason. I know that the downfield passing has been kind of lacking so far, and that's made things look not quite as dominant as you would like. That's reasonable. There could be some with the Akilla Witherspoon injury. There could be some opportunities down the field. We'll see how that goes. But you still have Quentin Lake, Kobe Durant, and then Emmanuel Forbes is going to get playing time as well. That might be something you attack, but ultimately, yeah, I think the Eagles. I still trust the Eagles to win this one.
I think I do too. I think it's close. I really like what the Rams are doing defensively. I think they're doing some really good stuff. I think that they are young and athletic just goes a long ways to competing in games. And especially against this Philadelphia team, Jalen Hurts is obviously a tremendous athlete at quarterback. So, he's going to get hit some of his in, running the football and doing different things. But they have a lot of guys on this defensive line that I think could get after him and at least cause some problems a little bit. They had 5 sacks in that game last week. Granted, that's a rookie quarterback, different situation. But I do think even though this Eagles offensive line is really good, I think that the Rams are going to find ways to at least keep Hurts in control at times, in the pocket, where they want him at times. And I think that could be interesting because I think the secondary does match up in this game, maybe can hang in this game. And then the other factor, I think the biggest factor is, we talked about week 1, the Eagles secondary struggling. I think it looked better in week 2, but I also still think there was throws to be had down the field in that game. There was a lot about Patrick Mahomes' deep ball really struggling all of a sudden. A bit of an overreaction, I think, but he is missing some. And look, it is what it is. Like the Rams have maybe the best receiver duo in the league. It's one of the best receiver duos in the league if you're splitting hairs there. Nakua and Adams have come out looking fantastic to start this season. Stafford is finding them. They are getting downfield. They have, 8 big plays of 20+ yards between the two of them. And so I think the Philadelphia Eagles will see how much of that adjustment to the secondary actually helps, or if it was just some missed throws down the field in that game, because Nakua and Adams are going to make some big plays in this one if it's not looking right.
Yeah, Kyle, the more I think about this, the more I'm concerned about picking the Eagles to win. Just because, the other thing, too, is, We know Matthew Stafford gets up for big games, and like we still have seen the Eagles defense. There's been some shakiness with I think like all the new pieces kind of trying to figure out how to gel together right now. Stafford knows how to exploit that stuff. So yeah. Also, Kyle, Matthew Stafford currently PFF's #1 rated quarterback through 2 weeks. So there you go. Someone who I had some concerns about not coming off his best regular season, even if he was great in the playoffs. Well, someone must have just told him it's the playoffs right now because he's playing at that level.
Yeah, and I mean, I really, no disrespect to Cooper Kupp, but I think they've just really upgraded that position. Like, I think they have over what Kupp was the last couple seasons. So I think that also really helps. And I mean, he's got 2 receivers that can basically get him 200 yards a game. So, and even beyond that, like I still like a lot of these guys on the team that can do different things too. Higbee is a reliable tight end. Tutu Atwell hasn't done much this season, but he's a big play threat at times too. Like there are just guys on this team that I really like. And yeah, I think that there are matchups for them to go after. So, we saw it in that playoff game. They can throw on this team. They managed to do it a few times. And this Philadelphia secondary does not look as good as it did last year. So it'll be interesting. But I'm just talking you out of games so far this week is what's happening.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, Kyle. You're good at this. Someone in the chat says the rest might call it a tush push more fairly. Not a Brady pointed that out. That's an interesting storyline. I'm fascinated to see if that will happen. Here's the one way a tush push can be stopped, I think, is if they get called for a penalty and then have to go for it on 3rd and 6 or 4th and 6 instead. I think that if they get called, they will then line up properly and still be equally successful at the tush. Like, why are they cheating on this? It's already an unstoppable play. Just run the play. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
I think it's also hard not to run the play itself while not like lining up over the ball. Like, I think it's just a difficult thing for the center to do because you're asking him to basically snap the ball and get as low as possible as fast as possible. And I don't think it's an easy thing for any center to do. Maybe for Jason Kelce. I haven't gone back and looked if Jason Kelce was cheating the whole time. How does that alter his Hall of Fame legacy? People are asking. No,
I don't know if that's going to come up in the podcast. I mean, how are you supposed to notice as a ref, though? Like, you can't see what's going on there. Like, how are you supposed to get an angle of that?
Yeah, you would almost have to have like the overhead cam. Which is obviously not allowed. But like, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thing. But like I said, like they're still going to be fine on 3rd and 4th downs. They're going to find ways to convert plays, even if they have to adjust slightly. So I'm not worried about the Eagles in that. I have different concerns about the Eagles, even if they're minor concerns, because I think they're one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. Let's move on. That should be a fun game. Also, last note on that game. This getting to 1 o'clock time slate when there's 9 1 o'clock games is an abomination. How is this not at the very least a late window game?
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what the schedule makers do, but I mean, I guess maybe the Rams just don't have a big draw. Like, I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that might be true, but still, come on. Give it for those neutral fans. Give us something there. Kyle, my turn to give you a game. I'm going Bengals at Vikings.
Yeah, this is all of a sudden not as fun of a matchup that we're looking at. We're looking at
Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz.
Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to take the Vikings, and I would consider locking up the Vikings again too.
Wow. You would consider locking up a team that is starting Carson Wentz?
Yeah. I don't think the drop-off from J.J. McCarthy, what we've seen to start the season, to Carson Wentz is that extreme. And I think the drop-off, even though he made some big plays down the stretch, from Joe Burrow to Jake Browning, is a bit more extreme. The other thing that we have to look at is you have Brian Flores going against this. This is a wet dream for Brian Flores to go against this offensive line with an inexperienced quarterback. He is going to be throwing some blitzes at this team that they have not seen before, and they can't even stop 4 pass rushers. I think that they are going to have some problems with this Vikings defense. Yes, I think Chase and Higgins are still going to be in a lot of ways get theirs. But at the same time, I still think that they're going to derail a lot of drives with the pass rush and making things happen. And you're just asking for Carson Wentz to make like 4 or 5 throws in this game, which I think he's capable of doing. So give me the Vikings.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, here's the one thing I'm interested in is the Flores loves the blitz. that leaves one-on-one matchups with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And Jake Browning has a lot of flaws. One of those isn't that he is afraid to throw it to those guys, right? He will put the ball up, and that's part of why he's a good backup for them. So I think that's the one way I could see Cincinnati pulling out this victory. I don't know what to make of Carson Wentz, really. We've seen him play in, he played for if remember, he played 7 games for the Commanders after what did I think they were the Washington football team back then, actually. Played 7 games after he got kind of exiled from the Colts. It went really poorly there. 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He played 1 game in relief with the Rams and looked okay. Played 1 game in relief with the Chiefs, and it didn't go well, but it wasn't really his fault. Just like it was all backups against starters. So like, what are you gonna do? And that was, if I remember correctly, the Broncos needed that win to make the playoffs. So it's like, that was a tough spot for him to be in. I don't know what to make of this. I'm interested in seeing what Wentz is going to do. But he is someone who's kind of like been a fringe like NFL player. Like there's been, it hasn't been easy for him to get jobs every single time he's been available. So right. I don't know what to make of all of that. And because of that, I think it's, again, if there's 2 backup quarterbacks playing each other, I'm probably just going to try and make you pick the game instead of me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the right move. I still think in the end, I think the Vikings were a better team heading into this week anyways, between these 2 sides. And if I'm downgrading both teams for backup quarterbacks and downgrading both offenses, like you're looking at a team with now a, above average offense compared to a great offense in Cincinnati and a terrible defense. And you're looking at a team with maybe a subpar offense instead of an average offense and a great defense in Minnesota. Like, I still think, that's probably a little too easy of a way to analyze a game, but I'm just kind of analyzing the game that way. I think the Vikings defense is the most reliable thing in this game. And, the Cincinnati Bengals defense has made bad quarterbacks look good before. So, like, I still don't trust Wentz. I still think there's going to be mistakes, but, maybe he could take something out of Jake Browning's playbook and say, let's throw the ball to Justin Jefferson and see what happens, which I think the Vikings need to do more anyways, because they need to get him involved in this offense a little bit more.
Yeah. What are you making on the discourse of, hey, maybe Joe Burrow isn't that good because Jake Browning, offense doesn't miss a beat. Browning, higher EPA per play this season than Joe Burrow. He's the better quarterback. The injury helped him.
All right, let's calm down.
Yeah, think maybe that's a bit of an overreaction people are having out there. But yeah, Kyle, let's think maybe him throwing a screen pass to T. Higgins or Jamar Chase who runs like 60 yards. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, that helps. That helps your offense, your EPA per play.
Yeah, I think so. Kyle, give me a game.
Raiders at Balls. It's next lowest game. What do you got?
Yeah, it's a weird one because. So again, it's another good choice because you have. I think I was, but firmly, I'm like, no, I like the Commanders. Like this is. I think there's an overreaction to them playing poorly against a really good Packers team on a primetime game. But now there's the whole is Jaden Daniels thing going to happen, and with that, I mean Marcus Mariota's been a good backup for them, so I don't think it'll be a disaster there. But ultimately, like he's not Jaden Daniels. I do think that hurts things, especially when this team just hasn't looked great. So, you know what? Again, I think I was probably leaning towards Commanders, but why not? Let's just go. Then I'm thinking about it. Let's go Raiders. Let's go Geno Smith. Get back on track and get a victory here.
Get back on track, indeed. Yeah, I think people are overreacting. Again, primetime games make people overreact a lot. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, the Raiders stink. Geno Smith stinks. All that kind of stuff. I think he's going to be just fine this season. And yeah, I think this could be a get-right game for the Raiders. I want to see them be able to run the ball. I want to see them be able to use Ashton Genty in this game. And I think they're going to be able to have some opportunities for the ball downfield on this Balls defense. So I like the Raiders, too, in this game. I think they have some warts to work out. But, even then, like we said, like they got the ball back down 20-9 in that game, and they could have made it a one-score game. Like, as badly as they played in that game against a good Chargers team, they still had a chance to win the game or put themselves in a position to steal the game potentially. So we'll see how they adjust. We'll see what they do, but I like them in this game, especially with the question marks that is Jaden Daniels playing.
Yeah, and honestly, like the other thing too is the Raiders defense has been surprisingly like solid through 2 weeks. Like this is the team that we're like, okay, there's a bunch of cast-offs like Eric Stokes, like Devin White's going to be like a every down player for them. Like, and like these guys are playing like solid football. I'm not saying either are like stars, but like they just have a bunch of guys who are like playing above their pay grade. Like Jeremy Chin's having a good season. Like, oh yeah, remember him? Like Jermaine Pratt's playing well. Like there's just a lot of guys who are playing solid football. And then of course you have Max Crosby, the star. Like I don't know if this is like an elite. I wouldn't trust his defense if Jaden Daniels is going to play and that much, but like I don't know, it's scrappy.
Yeah, it is scrappy. They made some plays early in this season, and I mean they could have had a few more, like you said, with that late interception too, chance that they dropped. So yeah, I think that they look formidable at least. They look at least. I think that's the biggest thing where it's like you talk about Pete Carroll to Antonio Pierce as far as coaches. It's like they at least just look organized, and I think that's half the battle. As long as you're organized and in the right spots, I feel like that helps you look more competitive no matter what, even if you don't have the talent of your opponent.
I'm kind of realizing that there's some compliments that are really just insults to a previous head coach. It's like, oh, like they look like they know to play, and when they get out of the huddle.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, I would say so.
Let's move on, Kyle. I'm going to give you a divisional game. I'm going to go Colts Titans.
Yeah, next on the list. Feels a bit disrespectful based on the way these two teams have played this season. So I'm going to take the Colts. I feel pretty good about it. This line feels weird to me. So I'm curious to see what Vegas knows that we don't, because I just feel like this team should win by at least a touchdown. Titans, they're fine. They compete. I like Cam Ward too. I think he's, done some good things. They've played two really competitive teams in the first 2 weeks, and I know that 33-19 doesn't really do them any favors score-wise. I think that game was a little bit closer at times, but I just have a tough time seeing exactly the vision for them keeping this game close.
I can see the vision. Again, I think part of it is people aren't fully buying into the Colts right now. Like, there's a lot of, like, articles, there's been a lot of Derek Carr comparisons with Daniel Jones, which, like, guys, just because one quarterback last year had a good start and then fell off after 2 weeks doesn't mean that's just going to happen with the next one that it works. Like Sam Darnold played well right away and then continued playing well. And also, Carr was 500 with the Saints last year. People like act like he just like was a disaster after those 2 games. Like he got hurt. He went 5-5. Not saying like,
when he couldn't lift his arm, he stunk. That's what happened.
Right. Yeah. Like there's more to it than just that. It is fair to say a lot can change after 2 weeks, and there will be at the end of the season a team where we're like, remember when they were 2-0? But you can't guarantee that's going to happen with the Colts. I think the Colts are the real deal. I think the Colts are going to win this game, but I just feel like there is enough talent here. It's a divisional matchup. I don't think it's crazy that the Titans can get within 3. Like I do like what I've seen from Cam Ward. I don't love this receiving core right now. Calvin Ridley hasn't had a good year to start this. Ayo Manor has been very good for them. But they need more there. But the defense played well. And again, if Daniel Jones falls back down to earth, then that's how the Titans could do this. But I agree. I would take Colts minus 3.5.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, there are a few nice things to like about the Titans, I think, for sure. But, we've seen this Colts defense even play pretty decent to start this season. It wasn't as great last week, but, they've made some plays in the secondary. They have some decent players out there. This defensive line, I think, has played really well to start the year too. And yeah, I trust them a lot more, obviously, in this matchup. I think they are going to get it done. And yeah, I mean, I think the Daniel Jones thing, that is the factor. Is like if Daniel Jones does fall back to earth, then sure, absolutely anything is possible. But like I will say, this is only a 2-game sample size, so you take it all with a grain of salt. I also think this is better than what we saw from Sam Darnold last year and what we saw from Derek Carr to start last season. I mean, this guy's 9 yards per attempt. He's got 5 touchdowns passing and rushing combined this season. He's making some great throws, and honestly, he's not even really putting the ball in harm's way a lot. Like, I think he's being smart with the football, and I think he's making good throws downfield. That's making the difference. I mean, when you're 70+% completion percentage and 9 yards per attempt, you're doing a lot of things right, I think.
Yeah, I think he's doing a lot of things right. I think the team around him is also doing a lot of good stuff. I mean, Tyler Warren's been fantastic right out of the gate, which doesn't always happen. You have Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, who are all great in their respective roles. Really well coached team, and they block in front. So I think it's like listen, I'll say this. They're going to punt this season. Rigoberto Sanchez, he's going to have to at some point have to play football. But ultimately, I think that I think that I think he's playing really well. I also think it's fair to say is this I don't know if this is going to continue all 17 games, but I still think I buy them as a playoff team.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But I will say the one thing I do think is going to stand up for the rest of the season is that Jonathan Taylor looks fully back. He was better than I think people gave him credit for last season. Doesn't have a rushing touchdown through these first 2 games, weirdly, even though they put up a ton of points. But he looks fully back to pre-injury self, and he's moving really well.
Yeah, and he's held on to the ball through the goal line every time. Well, I guess he hasn't had a chance yet. Maybe that's why they're not giving him the ball at the goal line.
He has 1 touchdown on a catch. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he held on to it that time.
Yeah, he did good there.
Okay, Kyle. Let's move on. It is time for you to give me a game.
All right, let's go with Lions Ravens.
Sure. Yeah, I had one ahead of this one, but I think this is a totally fine. Honestly, this probably should have been next on my list. But either way, you're taking it. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick the Ravens. I think the Ravens are really good. I think it's a tough draw for the Lions with, getting the Packers and the Ravens in the first 3 weeks. That's rough. But I mean, what the Ravens offense is doing to start this season, they've scored 40 points in both games. Granted, the Lions scored 50 last week. But I think scoring 40 against the Bills is more impressive than scoring 50 against the Bears. Both were very impressive. I mean, both of these offenses are capable. But I do think what we saw last week was that the week 1 performance from the Ravens defense was probably more about Josh Allen than about their defense. I do think there is key pieces. Jair Alexander, I believe, did not play in week 2, which is probably the right move there. So I think that helps. They're going to shuffle these guys around. I'm picking Baltimore, but yeah, there is upset potential here. This is a good choice. It's the Monday night game. It's a thumbnail game because, I mean, the great thing about the Lions is we're all worried. Okay, what's going to happen with after week 1? Is this team done? Do they just miss Ben Johnson? Well, week 2, clearly they don't miss Ben Johnson. That's something we definitely know about the Lions fans. But yeah, I mean, they look like the Lions again. So, I still think you just got to trust the especially, I don't know if I love this Lions run defense. I trust the Ravens to be able to run all over them. I do think there is a chance that the Lions could win the shootout. Yeah.
I mean, the Lions showed that they can move the ball, and they're going to be fine. So I definitely think that's a degree. There's probably not a bigger change in quarterback matchup than going from Josh Allen week 1 to Joe Flacco in week 2.
Yeah.
So I am curious to see where this Ravens defense balances out. Is it closer to week 1? Is it closer to week 2? Is it somewhere in the middle? Because even in somewhere in the middle, I still think that there's opportunities there for the Lions to move the ball a little bit and throw the ball downfield. So it'll be interesting to see how that matches up. I think this is a big litmus test for the Ravens and what they truly are this season on both sides of the ball, because like you said, the defense did look a little better, but that was a totally different matchup. So, I think the most impressive thing with the Ravens so far this season is just the manner of which they've been able to win the games. They started throwing the ball. They couldn't really run the ball last week against a good Browns defensive line. So they said, okay, we're throwing. And they just became this really dynamic passing offense that was almost 12 yards per catch. So I think they did really well in that one. DeAndre Hopkins with a couple big plays in that one. And you have Zay Flowers, all those guys. So I like what they can do passing game. I still like what they can do run game, obviously. And I think the Ravens are a better team, but I don't think the Lions are scrubs. So that's kind of why I gave this game.
Yeah, no, it's a good choice. This hopefully will be a fun Monday night game.
That's what the hope is. Yeah, I mean, last year it would have been a great Monday night game, but we'll see how it looks this season.
Yeah, and what was it a couple years ago when it came down to the 66-yard field goal? That was, I think, early in Dan Campbell's tenure. So we'll see. Kyle, I'm going to give you just a divisional matchup because weird things happen in divisional matchups. Falcons taking on the Panthers. The good Falcons defense. We can finally talk about it.
Yeah, the good Falcons defense. Yes, they've looked very good in the first couple weeks of the season. The pass rush is looking a little bit better, and they are going to win this game. I mean, the Panthers have not looked as competitive in the first couple weeks, even though they did almost come back last week. I think that there is still a different class of opponent here. Falcons look closer to a playoff team. So yeah, I'll take Atlanta in this game, and I think that they are doing some good things.
Yeah, I mean, this is the correct take. I think what you're hoping for if you're a Panthers fan is can you build off of what happened, what happened last week. But, the last time these two teams played each other, which was week 18 of last season, it was a shootout, a 44-38 Bryce Young victory in Atlanta, which was a game that the Falcons could have made the playoffs had they won and Tampa Bay lost that week, and they lost to Bryce Young. Granted, two different teams, right? But maybe there's something there. I think one of the biggest issues right now that I have is we know the Falcons defense is tough, and we know the Broncos. There's a massive mismatch on both sides of the ball. Like the Panthers defense has played horrendous to start this season. Michael Penix shouldn't have issues moving the ball down the field. On the flip side, outside of Ted McMillan, what else does Bryce Young have here offensively? And the Falcons defense has played so well. So this feels like it's going to be we'll see how it goes, but this could be a potential dominant win for Atlanta. And that's what you want, right? If you're a Falcons fan, it's like winning this 1 by 3 is not good enough. You want to be able to cover here. Michael says betting $200 on Falcons minus 2.5. Be careful out there, Michael.
Minus 5.5. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with that. I think this is an interesting test for Ted McMillan too. He's going against AJ Terrell, who has looked very good the first 2 weeks of the season. I think Ted's been good. Ted's been as you've wanted as that first pick, and as you wanted as that Bryce Young guy. They definitely need more help on that offense. But yeah, I mean, the defense just has not been able to get stops this season. And yeah, I think that is a bit of a problem for Carolina in this matchup, because I think Penix has looked pretty good, and I think the way they use the receivers and Bijan Robinson is going to be an issue.
Yeah. We have, as Michael brings up, AJ Terrell is banged up. I don't see if it's officially that he is not going to play, but that is something which, Kyle, it's going to happen to us all season long.
Yeah, we're going to miss a few of those here and there. Sorry.
So everyone in the chat, definitely feel free to correct us. You help us out with that. We appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. What do we have to say more? It's the divisional game. Weird things happen.
Yeah, weird things do happen. So, maybe
this would be the most Falcons thing ever, right? To lose this game after all the hype after last week.
Yeah, exactly. So, weird things do happen, and they've happened in this matchup as recent as week 18 last year. So it absolutely can happen again.
Can Bryce Young continue his win streak against Michael Penix? We will see. Kyle, let's move on. Give me a game.
All right, let's go with let's just keep it going with Chiefs at Giants.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm picking the Chiefs to win this one, Kyle. I think the Chiefs, it's a bit of a lower line at 5.5 just because that's how the Chiefs play. I do think the Giants offense played well last week with the throw it up to Malik Neighbors strategy. You do have Trent McDuffie, who should be able to, help limit Neighbors. Neighbors will still get his plays, but at least it won't be what we saw last week, you would think. And I just feel like, I don't think that Spagnuolo is going to give up those wide open Wan'Dale Robinson plays up the middle. I think that the Chiefs will be able to make Russell Wilson look more like week 1 Russell Wilson than week 2 Russell Wilson. And then I think that, I still trust this offense enough. They probably should have won. I mean, if they lose this game, sound the alarms. This is completely panic. But for now, I think you have to pick the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean that is the right call. I mean, we'll see, because it's just it's one of those things where, if you're going to say matchup mismatch, you're looking at potentially this really good Giants defensive line going against a subpar Kansas City offensive line, and especially interior wise, you're looking at Dexter Lawrence against these guys, and you still have Brian Burns, and you still have what's the heck, Abdul Carter and all those guys. So maybe that's a bit of a problem there for Kansas City, but this feels like a mean 30-point win, right? Where they just kind of take out their anger for the first 2 weeks. They show people they are the Chiefs again. People are overreacting. You could reference back to the New England on to Cincinnati game. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is just the on to New York Giants game, and they go and win this one. They go and put up 35 in this game.
It's possible. That's certainly in the cards. the only thing is like the Chiefs don't really do that anymore, right? It feels like they just win everything close. So like I think they'll win, and I could think they could win handedly. I don't know if it'll be. I just don't know if that's what they do. But if there's going to be a week, this is the week. Why is this Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I know it's the Giants.
But what do we say about Kansas City if they can't do that? Like this team didn't look. The Giants didn't look very good despite some good defensive plays by the line against Washington. The defense didn't look good against Dallas. Like this, I know we're grading it on a curve because they're not fully healthy, but like if you're getting Worthy back this week, you should be able to get 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. It feels like, and at least be respectable about it. Like I don't know. I just feel like if we're gonna say that they don't do this anymore, they don't win games convincingly, then I don't think the Chiefs are. I think we could write off the Chiefs this year. Then honestly, they're the 4th best team in the AFC right now, at best.
Yeah, that might be a compliment right now. We'll see. I mean, they are getting multiple receivers back, so like that's kind of what you think. But for now, they should be all right. Kyle, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll give you a game though, so you have something to talk about while I do. Let's go Saints Seahawks.
Yeah. Saints have been at least competitive in these first couple weeks. They hung around in that Cardinals game and cut it to 2013. They had a chance to win that one. And even last week against San Francisco, they made it 26-21. And Spencer Rattler did play pretty well in that game. What his ceiling is, we'll see. But he at least did some good stuff as a quarterback in that game. I am taking the Seahawks, though. Obviously, they have heavy favorites. Sam Darnold did look a lot better in week 2. The offense looked a lot better in week 2 as a whole for Seattle. And I think this is just a different level of defense than New Orleans has played this season as they face the other NFC West teams. So, yeah, I think that Seattle is a better team. I think that their defense should be able to win this game on its own in ways. And I think even if the Saints are able to do a little bit, I still think the Seahawks offense has enough juice here to go down and win some games. I mean, if Mac Jones could do what he did last week with the hampered skill position guys for San Francisco, I still think that there is enough here for Seattle with Jackson Smith-Njigba and some of these other guys. The running game came back last week and looked good. They should be able to do just fine against this Saints defense. Welcome back.
Okay, I'm back. Who'd you pick?
Seattle.
Oh, okay. Well, interesting. Yeah, that was good by me. I don't even have to talk about this game at all. I can just move on.
Yeah. I mean, if you're ready.
No, I mean, again, I didn't hear what you said. So it would be a bad, I guess it's a bad segment because I might just go over what you said. Again, I didn't think Rattler was horrible last week. I do think that going up against this defense, I'm worried about if they could move the ball at all in this one.
Yeah, that's essentially what I said. And then I think the Seahawks offense also looked better in week 2. So, there is progress there that I think they can get better at. I don't think they're going to get a free kickoff recovery in the end zone for a touchdown this week, but I guess you never know. But that also, that also would help the Seattle cause.
It would. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. I have to say, Kyle, I was thinking about this as I was going to the bathroom. You have like an Iron Man streak going. Like you haven't left. I can't remember the last time you've had to leave to go to the bathroom. I don't know if you ever have.
No,
it's like Brett Favre's Iron Man streak of never leaving, never missing a start.
I can control my bladder. Yeah, surprisingly.
Okay, well, I drink so much water. I have 2 of these things by my desk because one of them wasn't enough. Because I'm talking all day, so it dries out my mouth. So I'm just like, I drink probably an unhealthy amount of water if that's possible.
Yeah, we are drinking too much water nowadays. That is a take.
Is that a take? Do we drink too much water?
That was actually on. I don't know if you watch the Subway Takes videos on Instagram and stuff.
I do not. But, I don't even have Instagram.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, yeah, they do. Like this guy, his whole bit is he interviews people on a subway and lets them give one hot take. And I think someone did say we drink too much water. It was pretty funny. Okay,
well, interesting. No, you drink a lot of water. Water is good thing to drink. Healthy. Let's move on. Hopefully you covered that game well. Kyle, give me a game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Jets at Bucks.
Yeah. Buccaneers playing a backup quarterback. There's that weird voodoo that always seemingly when a backup quarterback plays Tampa Bay, it goes better for the backup quarterback than you would think. Tyrod Taylor will play in this game. Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield, former teammates with the Browns from back in the day. I'm picking the Bucs to win. And it's another one of those like, okay, you squeaked out 2 wins on the road against solid teams. Like, you have to win this one handedly if you're going to be taken seriously as a real threat here. I do think that, I guess just the one thing I look at with the Jets is I do think you can put Sauce Gardner on Mike Evans, try and limit him that way. I just worry about, is this going to be another big Mbeka Egbuka game? I guess the other concern I do have going into this is Tampa Bay will probably be missing both of their tackles in this one. For all the Jets' faults, they can rush the passer here somewhat effectively. It hasn't been quite as great this season as you would like, but in theory, they should be able to be effective there on the outside. Could they, get into the face of Baker Mayfield? The issue is just going to be, can the Jets move the ball against this Buccaneers defense that's played very well through 2 weeks?
Despite the juju of your history with backup quarterbacks, would you rather face Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields in this game?
Justin Fields. I'd rather play Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think I would too.
One thing, I don't think there's actually that massive of a difference between the two. I mean, we haven't seen Taylor in a while, so I don't know what he still is, but he's usually been a fine backup quarterback.
Yeah, at least Taylor can throw the ball to Garrett Wilson a lot. And that would be the one thing is too, where, we've talked about Jamel Dean. I think Jamel Dean's a good corner. But we have seen him go against some of the number one receivers in the league and struggle in some of those matchups because, he's not a true number one corner in a lot of ways. So maybe Garrett Wilson could have a big game in this one. I do think the one thing, though, when you're looking at the Jets and you're talking about Taylor versus Fields, you're just not going to run the ball up the middle on Tampa Bay and have success or between the tackles. Vita Vea is a superstar. Levante David's there too. He's a Hall of Famer. They're just so good at their jobs there that is a problem. And so the way to run on them is scrambling and on the outside, whereas where you want Fields in this game. But I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference for me. This feels like this, I think, similar to what you said with Atlanta. As a Tampa fan, and I'm sure you feel this way, this is a game where you kind of want to see this team, which has looked good in spurts this season, to go and win the game by double digits.
Yeah, I could see it being closer than you would want there, just because of, like you said, Garrett Wilson, who actually the Bucs have been putting Zion McCollum on the number one receivers a lot this season. That Nico Collins touchdown was McCollum. If Garrett Wilson can win that matchup, that could go a long way. Yeah, I mean that, and I just think the Jets do block well. The Buccaneers have kind of struggled with getting pressure with 4. So there are advantages with the Jets in this game. There absolutely are. I just think there's more advantages for the Bucs.
It just can't be a walk-off touchdown. You don't want to see that again.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just win it handedly. Win it without it having to sweat. That's if we win by 9, I'm happy.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, very least got to cover. Kyle, 2 games left to talk about. I'm going to give you I'm not going to give you the one at the lower line. I'm going to give you Dolphins Bills. It's Thursday night and it's a divisional game. Weird things happen in those situations, so I'm just going to throw that one here.
I also had this higher on my list, so I agree with you. These Thursday games do get weird. That being said, I'm taking Buffalo. They are better. Dolphins look a little bit broken. I have no idea how Miami's going to stop this Bills offense. I don't see it. So I think the Bills should hang 30 on this game, depending on anything weird happening. And Miami, I still think, has ways to put up points, but I don't think they're going to have as much success doing the things they did last week against the Patriots linebackers against the Bills. So I'll take Buffalo handily, and but I do think Miami can still find ways to move the ball a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
This Dolphins defense is the worst in the league. It's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm thinking you said 30, and I'm like, that would almost be a disappointment, unless it's a game where it just gets out of hand after the first half and you're running the ball the whole second half. If they scored exactly 30 points, I'd kind of be a bit of an underwhelming offensive performance.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we did see it last week against the Jets where they went up and then, it really felt like the Bills were kind of just messing around in the second half of that game. But I think they should absolutely be able to attack the secondary and make some plays. And, I just don't see how there's going to be enough time for adjustments in a short week for Miami to fix some of their issues.
Yeah, and you have the edge rushers of Chubb and Jalen Phillips and Chop Robinson. I know there's been a lot of injuries with Chubb and Phillips, but like they haven't really lived up to their names this season. Now he got to play Buffalo's pass blocking unit. Like it's just like you're right. I mean, I just unless it's one of those Josh Allen games that we haven't seen recently where he just turns the ball over 3 times, like I just don't see this happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And then
I guess the one thing I will say is the Dolphins offense could potentially put up points, which again, I gave you this game above another one just because, like, you know, Dolphins, I do think there is potential there, again, if they can get right there.
Potential for sure. And I think they did start to move the ball late in the second half of that game against the Patriots and showed some signs of life. Tua looked a lot better during stretches of that game until that late interception, but, you know, he's just not playing well enough for me to be confident in this matchup even. So, yeah, I think it's still a very tall task. But, yeah, I mean, there are still things I think to like about Miami, even if this is a disaster right now.
There's a chat saying, how will Kyle cope when the Bills win it all? How will you feel? Because I feel like most people want to see the Bills win a Super Bowl in their lifetime, but you're a division rival. What is your thought there?
I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, it's a weird thing to say, but, like, the Bills weren't really an issue for me as far as a fan goes.
Yeah.
Like, I never really viewed the Bills the same way. Like, the Dolphins were kind of a division rival for us in ways because they just always seemed to be a thorn in our side. Like, we lost to that stupid Wildcat Miami team. You know, we lost to the Nick Saban team, I think, a couple years. And, you know, they had that Miami Miracle. Like, they always just seemed to be kind of pesky to us, especially going down to Miami. Those team issues. And then the Jets, we had some playoff games as far as divisional opponents go that were really competitive. You know, in the Rex Ryan era, there was a lot of back and forth talk. And then I think the other rivals you talk about for the Patriots and probably their biggest rivals were like the Steelers, Ravens, and Colts. And then later you could talk about the Chiefs towards the end of that run. So those teams were really our true rivals. I felt like a lot of those like really competitive seasons, and you know, not really trying to be disrespectful, but we dominated Buffalo. Like it just wasn't.
They beat you in that Mac Jones playoff game.
They beat us in that one, but I think we were just happy to be there at that point. Like we had a rookie quarterback play well for a season, and it was just like, all right, we're not beating this team. Barring some, we did beat them in the regular season that year, but barring a miracle, like
wasn't that the win game where they didn't run the ball? They ran the ball like every
once
play.
Or twice. Yeah, it was stupid. Yeah, so it was just like barring a miracle like that, we're not winning the game. So yeah, I think you know, we dominated Buffalo for a lot of those years. I didn't really have animosity towards them, and then we weren't very good. So yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with Buffalo winning.
Kyle, I had a take where, you know, we're at the point in the season where we're spending more time talking about things that aren't the actual game than the game itself. But could the Bills, is there 17-0 watch here? You look at their schedule, it's Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, which are a solid team, Panthers, Chiefs, which are a solid team, better than solid. And they also play the Bucs, and they play the Eagles week 17. Second to last game of the season is the Eagles. But then a lot of winnable games. Games are going to be like, you know, heavy favorites. Again, some like solid teams, but like, I don't know. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, you know, it is something to watch, but like
that would annoy you.
Think,
if the Bills went 20-0, that would annoy you.
Yeah, that would probably annoy me if any team did that. But yeah, I mean, look, when you do the schedule watch thing and you're the best team in the league or one of the best teams in the league, you're going to be favored against almost anyone anyways. But like there are still some tough games on the schedule, so it's far from a cakewalk at this point.
Yeah. Let's finish off the show with Packers-Browns. This is the game you're giving me. It's the last game that we have chosen. I am picking the Packers, of course, to win. A little surprised that this isn't the biggest line, just because, like, how good the Packers have looked. And, I mean, again, the plucky Browns, everyone's saying it. The Browns are a pretty good team. But, you know, I still don't know if they're I do think the Browns' defense is good. And I guess the one thing you'd look towards is, like, Jordan Love's looked so good for the first 2 weeks. Is this who he is, or is this just a streaky player on a hot streak? We'll see. I don't know at what point I'm going to just buy into, oh yeah, I'm expecting a good performance out of Jordan Love. But I'm like, I think I'm going to see a good performance out of Jordan Love. I'm at about that point at least. Like, yeah, probably that's what's going to happen, right? So I think that you know, with that, there is Myles Garrett. He can potentially blow things up. But even with some injuries for the offensive line, Packers have still blocked well. So I don't know. It's hard to imagine too much going wrong here for Green Bay.
Yeah, I think the argument for the point line is just it just feels like the Packers have been on cruise control the second half of these games, and maybe that's the argument. It feels like they could have had 30 plus the first 2 weeks and ended up with 27, which isn't that much of a disappointment, but it's a little bit of a disappointment. And maybe they're just not putting up a ton of points, then they're just cruising. But yeah, I mean, they are the much better team in this game. The defense. The one thing you look at the Browns is they have a good secondary. I think that could cause some problems potentially if Jordan Love's going to put the ball in harm's way again like he has in the past. And then the one thing you would say about the Browns is their defensive line and Myles Garrett are great, but the Packers' offensive line has also looked equally as great. So, it's not really as big of a matchup advantage as it usually is for Cleveland. So how they handle that will be interesting. But, the Green Bay is just, one's a team at the top of the NFC and one's a team that's competing for the first pick.
Yeah. Right. I mean, this is, again, but I think I brought this up last week. Packers have a really kind of easy stretch here as they're going to be, probably like at least 5.5 point favorites up until they play the Eagles midway through the season. So, that should go well on top of it. So, yeah, I mean, again, Browns run the ball. It's the same philosophy. Run the ball. Try and see if you can convert a bunch of third downs and score some points and hope your defense can play well. Maybe you can get a turnover or two with Myles Garrett and your secondary. It's not impossible that they can at least keep this one competitive. But, this is one on. Them? What's that?
Can they win, though?
Yeah, well, yeah, probably not. I mean, this is the 1 o'clock game that none of us will be watching unless it somehow gets close at the end.
Yeah. I guess let's put it. Will Dylan Gabriel play in this game for non-injury reasons?
Ooh, gotcha. If it's a blowout, there's a good chance. Yeah, if it's or
I don't think they're just struggling. I think too.
I don't think it'll be like he starts the second half. I think that I could see because I think Gabriel played like a series last week. I think it could be that where it's like in the fourth quarter, it's such a blowout that they're putting into Gabriel. I don't think they'll go to him in the second half.
All right, this is you against the Packers' #1 defense. Go get him, kid.
Yeah, I think this is I think they would consider putting him in. I just think it's you have the Packers, then you have the Lions, then you have the Vikings, and then we'll see what the Steelers are. You have the Dolphins coming up after that. That feels like that's the week, right?
You make the change. Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, because you have Dolphins, then Patriots, who are scrappy, and then you have the Jets. That 3-week stretch feels like okay. That can you can let them kind of get an opportunity to actually have a chance here.
Yeah.
Are the Vikings Browns is a London game or at least an international game? That's a tough one. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. That's not the best for the international audience, I would say. Were you surprised with all the quarterback injuries this week that nobody called about Shedeur Sanders?
I was not. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just had to get our clicks up. That's all.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That'll help the algorithm.
Shedeur Sanders, did he deserve a start this week?
Right. Yeah. Bengals should call about him.
Hey, he just needs a chance, man.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I know the Ravens haven't called about him. Kyle, that is our show. Let me know where you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Yes. Do we still do the account page?
Not really. I switched phones and then I forgot the login and I don't have it saved. So okay. I need to figure out how to get that back up, honestly.
Okay,
but it's just fine. My spiel, so
right. I was gonna say, I just kind of thought about that when you were saying it. Of course, if you like audio only podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. Kyle, we got through it. Hour 24, bit long, but we made it work.
Yeah, we did all right. So under an hour and a half. So I'm happy with that, and looking forward to the games this week.
Yes, it'll be fun. This might be the first Thursday game I take off.
I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, I think so. We'll think this, Dolphins Bill. We'll see how it goes. Again, thank you to everybody for watching or listening. We appreciate it. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.